we have a little video here of Kari Lake. Like, I want to make it clear, Artemis, I'm sure you saw the Kari Lake bribery recording thing. That's one of my favorite stories of the year. Well, I say year, of the last year, not just this year, 2024, but of the last year. It's so courageous. It's so blatant. And he made the offer like 5 times, and she just comes out, drops it, says resign, threatens him with more if he doesn't resign. He goes away, and then and she already mentioned it at the time as well. She just only released the audio now. And now there's a video of her answering questions about it on a live Rumble stream. Not even like a press conference that happened to go onto Rumble. She was streaming on Rumble in the same way that I am currently streaming on Rumble. I gotta say, I like the future, chat. I like the future.
Yeah, there's like a I don't know, like a like themes in an era where you could feel like the man of the moment or something like that, where you can feel like there's something great's about to happen for certain people, and that they're rising to that occasion. I think Kari Lake is gonna be one of them.
Oh yeah. I do hope so. She's going for the Senate now, which it's helpful. But I think you're right. I think there's bigger things ahead. Yes. To be clear, she did a speech at the RNC last year, only shortly after she had the conversation that she recorded. She explained what had happened, but she didn't name names. She then, about 11 months later, released the audio. The guy has now resigned. He resigned as of last stream. And I hope she pursues him further, even though he has resigned. I hope that she releases the rest of the audio she has. Now, the 11-month wait is a bit disconcerting. I'm not sure why she did that, and I think she should have reported it earlier. But at least she did, so she gets the points. But she does address that in this audio. But that's the backstory. Let's go into the Q&A.
We're all here, and we care deeply about our country. We're trying to save our country right now, and so I'm glad that you're joining us. We decided to put this on Twitter as well. We didn't even let anybody know, but we're really happy about that. So, hey, what's going on? Nothing happening in the world, right? We just got back in
371,000 views, by the way. Now, can you imagine 10 years ago, a video about politics getting 371,000 views on an alternative platform? Times change.
No.
And you get Rumble streams with like 80,000 live viewers as well. Like,
and if you
go on.
Yeah, if you see, look at her background, right?
Yeah,
that screams American.
It does.
Like family. Look at her. She got family photos in the background and other stuff. She's got an American flag and the Arizona flag. Like, how many Democrats, like politicians, do you see with all of that shit?
She's got the US flag and the Arizona flag as well.
Yeah.
And it's a professionally set up camera because you can tell because it's desaturated, which I don't like, but whatever. Artemis, you probably remember it as I do, and I'm sure many in chat does. The many times throughout the year that someone would say, YouTube is over party, and all those videos. This time it seems to be kind of happening. Like, you have Rumble, an alternative, and it's really gaining steam. I've been starting to see more and more normal content on Rumble.
At the moment that Rumble actually becomes as user-friendly as YouTube should be, it's not that far off. I think you'll start seeing more bleed over.
Yes. Especially because YouTube is cracking down on the ads and stuff.
Yeah, but think about how long it took to kill off the online newspaper outlets, right? All the online journalists. It took a decade since Gamergate to bleed that to death. So it's going to take some time. I mean, it's going to happen. It'll take some time.
Let's continue. She probably streamed this through OBS, by the way, direct to Rumble. It's remarkable how similar her setup is to mine now. And she's a nationally famous and well-loved politician, and I'm some punter across the sea. I do like the future.
So the fun part is she's technically a politician, but doesn't hold any office.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That it's kind of an interesting situation where she may have more political or social capital than the people in her own government.
I think she does.
At the moment.
I think she has a lot more. Yeah. I think that her popularity is why they because Arizona. I don't know if they rigged any other states, but Arizona's the one that everyone heard about, everyone was talking about. I think most of the rigging, if any happened anywhere else, was in Arizona, specifically to get rid of her. They gave up, I think, on Florida, but they knew they could do it with Arizona. So they are scared of her, just as they were of Ron, but they knew they couldn't get Ron, and just as they are of Trump.
Yeah, because I think just like Kari, not Kari, just like Trump in 2016, he's actually crazy enough to do the things he said he was going to do.
Yes.
And that's why they're afraid of Kari Lake. She's the same mentality.
Yes, she has demonstrated that she has put her money where her mouth is by releasing this bribery audio.
Arizona, the amazing state, the most amazing, beautiful, and sadly corrupt state, in my opinion, in the country. We were in New Hampshire helping to do a little stumping for President Trump because we got to turn this country around, guys. We have got to bring our country back and bring our government back to we the people. And so on our way back, we decided, literally on our way back on the plane, we said, we're getting inundated with people who are asking questions. They're asking questions about what's going on with this whole recording that has been put out there in the media, and the media has been reaching out saying we want to do interviews. And I said, there's only one of me, there's only so many hours in the day, and I can't do all the interviews. So we decided to do a Rumble Live and now Twitter Live, and we want your questions. So ask us your questions. We are going to start with the first question. Are you getting any questions?
So I have one. There's so much.
There's so much going. I've got Colton over here helping me out.
Okay, I've got a.
I said, Colton. Colton. No one's going to join us. The media wants to talk to us. He said, no, we're going to go live to the people. And he was right. He said, we're going to take that filter out from the media. The media always will put their own filter in. I just did an interview with a fake news.
Okay, I have one that says, Kari, it moves so fast. Who told Jeff DeWitt to bribe you?
Who told Jeff DeWitt to bribe me? I don't know. I wish I did know. As a matter of fact, I've thought about it many a day since then, and I've laid awake at night wondering who it could have been, what group, what person. But isn't it sad that you could literally, for 24 hours, think about it, wonder, guess, and that our government is so corrupt. Washington, D.C., the people back east, as he said, is so corrupt that you could literally probably come up with a list of about 400 or 500 people and groups that are behind this. And that's the sad thing. And this is why I am getting into politics. I'm in politics. This is why President Trump is in politics, because we want to make sure that we root out that kind of corruption. We can't have that kind of corruption happening in Washington, D.C. And frankly, it starts in Washington, in D.C., and it moves down into capitals across the country, into the state houses, into the municipalities. And what happens is people run for office, and immediately they get bribed, they get blackmailed, and they become controllable. And this is what's wrong with our country.
The thing I found so remarkable about the audio, Artemis, I suspect you'd agree, is how just simple it was. It was just straight up bribery. There was nothing subversive particularly. There was like the thing about it being put on the board of a major company. That's really the only thing that was unusual, or that was like just not the absolute basic stereotype. But it's just simple bribery. And I'm sure that's pretty much what's been happening to almost every other politician for decades. It's a simple bribery.
Well, I wouldn't
every
say,
TV or movie that you've seen about this is pretty much spot on. In fact, they probably go too far in imagination.
I would think it's a little bit more than bribery, because in that audio recording, you remember that she was saying, well, I wonder if they're going to kill me at some point. And then he was like, I have the cartels all over the United States. You know, that's a possibility.
You could argue, yeah.
So he's feeding into coercion at that point. That's more than just bribery. That's blackmail. And then he was so scared of going public with this. He was like, yeah, I don't want to turn my key in my car one morning and it just blows up on me.
Yeah. Oh, he knows.
That was all in that audio.
It was.
So the theory at the moment is that it came from the National something of Republican Senators, National Association of Republican Senators, or something like that. It's an organization of the bribery origin. No, that's governors. See,
okay,
senators,
right?
What Mitch McConnell, those people,
okay,
those types. That's where they think it came out of,
right?
And the people that are backing them, because that's the rhinos, that's the old hats, trying to get her out of the thing. So that's where they think this is coming out of.
Well, as she says, it could be any number of rhino institutions in DC.
Correct. But people that have the ability to put her on a board specifically.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So yeah, they would have to be have money and power. But yeah, it's going to be never Trumpers and shit like that.
Yeah, indeed.
Got another question?
I got another one. Was this the first time that something like this has happened to you?
Oh boy, I don't even want to answer this because when I got into politics, it became.
I think she wants to be very careful with this kind of thing because do you remember years ago? I think this may have been during Gamergate actually. There was a football player, American football player, who said like he threatened to like reveal something about one of his fellow players. It's like, I know who was caught with an underage girl who was like not interested in their advances. I know 2 players who were caught with, and it's like, dude, you just admitted to helping cover up a.
Yeah.
When he says that, and Kari Lake, if she says, "Oh yeah, no, I've seen this happen before," like, okay, if you recorded it, it actually looks worse on you that you haven't released it. Release it now.
Yeah, it's like all the people that are knew about Epstein's, the stories about Epstein or the what was the director, Harvey Weinstein, like all the stories that are all the jokes on national television, and then they just didn't do anything about it for decades.
Yep.
Yeah, same thing.
So yeah, I as I said, this Q&A is a little iffy because there is that, and there is the wait time. But she doesn't say anything incriminating as far as I remember. Let's continue.
So corrupt. I mean, I worked in media. The media is really corrupt right now. They're pushing propaganda. This is why I walked out of my job. I walked out of a 7-figure contract because I said, I don't want to be part of a corrupt cabal. I don't want to be part of pushing propaganda. And actually, I've never told this story. I don't even know if I should tell it. Should I tell that story? After we won the primary in the governor's race, there was an individual who'd been supportive of us, and we were really happy about it. And we asked him to become more involved in our campaign. We were really happy to have his support. He was a man who had been quite successful, and he wanted to start a PAC for us. He wanted to give some money to a PAC. For those of you who don't know, because I'm kind of new to politics as well, PACs will spend money running commercials for you and ads that will help propel your message or maybe expose what's going on with your opponents. And this individual was willing to put $1 million into a PAC. And I said, that's wonderful. Thank you. We're really happy. This is a grassroots campaign. If somebody has means and they want to put money into helping us get elected so we can save Arizona, we love it. And about 24 hours later, I got an email from this person who put his asks. He put his asks in. He said, well, if I'm going to do that, I have some asks that I demand of you. And these asks were really outrageous. They were basically, you can't be around MAGA type people. You can't support President Trump. You can't support other MAGA candidates. And listen, I wanted to get the whole slate elected, and I wanted to bring our movement over to everybody who is running on the Republican ticket. I wanted everybody who is Republican to win. And so I said, I can't agree to those asks.
Take a second to wonder whether any other politicians did agree to those asks, and how perhaps the unusually anti-MAGA behavior of some politicians, I'm not sure exactly who, but I'm sure we could think of examples, may be explained by simple bribery. I don't know. It's possible. Any suggestions from chat? Who it could be?
And we literally said...
Athlan, I don't know about Ron. I still really don't know about Ron. I think we still need to see more to know what his motives are, but they're a lot less pure than I once thought. I mean, he's joined in on the Texas thing, but then so have a bunch of Rhino governors, so it doesn't necessarily say much.
Thanks, but no thanks. And somebody who had been in politics for a while and who was on our campaign said to me, I've never seen anybody in the history of my time in politics who said no to $1 million because they didn't want to do a few simple things. But I didn't think it was simple to say I'm willing to turn my back on President Trump.
A lot of people think that all politicians act necessarily like psychopaths just because they're politicians. A lot of people think that politicians will always pursue their own self-interest. A lot of people for years have thought, well, if it's a politician, you can't trust them. That is a sensible perspective because I think for years, almost all politicians have been psychopathic. But it does not have to be that way. Not everyone is that, and not everyone who can get into politics is like that. There are some people Many of you in chat, I know I'm like this, who genuinely value other things above self-interest. Kari Lake is one of those people. And the thing is, it's actually conceptually very easy to solve a corruption problem like this. Just replace the politicians with people who have a soul.
Yeah, and the main issue that's why they wanted her out of the from running for 2 years.
Yeah,
is because you cannot negotiate with a person who has ideals.
Yeah, exactly. Who has integrity
and believes in them.
Yeah.
Well, not just integrity. Like you could have integrity and just not have the same ideals. The integrity could be politicians will cut deals that are bad in some areas and good in the other. Kari Lake isn't like that. She's we're not going to sacrifice anything. We're going to get what we came here for. Like she's not going to take like a hit to the border security to pass a military budget, right? She's not like that. And that's the issue with the new Republican Party, is that they're not willing to play ball with the neocons and the neo libs who want to just go bomb shit in the Middle East.
For many decades, Kieran, I think it has been normal that it has been impossible to get into politics unless you were willing to do dirty things. And so it was mostly people with psychopathic tendencies, I think, mostly people who don't have a soul, most people who were not looking to do anything idealistic. And of course, it becomes at some point a downward spiral. As long as you've got enough of those people in there, they'll enforce it such that there's more of those people in there. And eventually you have the psychopaths running society and farming the normal people. But then people start to notice they get upset about the situation, and then people who are what I would call the hero archetype stand up and do something about it. And that is a cycle that you probably can observe many times through history, but we're living through it now at an accelerated rate, I think, as well. It's very exciting times. Obviously, it's tough to live through a lot of it, but it's very exciting to see it. Kieran, everything that you said about politics has been true for years, but it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah. And the big thing is that they'll come, like some people are saying, like they'll come for their family. And that's how they get to you. Sure, there's that possibility, but the issue is that only works so many times before you get people that'll like, if they actually go for their family and do something to them, they would just have the opposite effect of their intended, and then they'll just come for them full force. Like you don't fuck with idealists like that.
I mean, like there are territories in the US where Kari Lake and her family could go to be protected. There are plenty of people that she could trust to do that. So if they tried that, I'm sure she could find a way to get around it. And then as long as she has some evidence to support it, that's going to look bad. And she would release it too. So you're right in principle, whoever said that in chat, but it's harder than you might think to make that happen. And
especially... So the big thing is that people can't get away with assassinating or threatening people's children these days, especially in this time of 25 states lining up against the federal government. It's not going to work very well, and anything can be the spark that starts the Fort Sumter event.
Yeah.
So we don't want to. Well, I would say that this is why Biden is using words right now. And is throwing a hissy fit, but he's not actually doing anything forceful.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to light that powder keg.
Yeah. Even the overlords know it's a bad idea. Like they rely completely on assumed legitimacy for their power. And right now, even that is in question. But if they make it a military affair, if they make it a direct violent affair, that legitimacy is no longer all that important. And people are going to start rejecting it completely because it's life and death now. We're not playing by the rules anymore. You're breaking the rules. You're making it life or death. So we're going to go with the side that we want to go with. Not the one that's safer or stable, but the one that we want to win. And they're going to lose all support very quickly at that point.
The fun part is all that money they've accrued and stolen through insider trading is going to go out the window. Because at that point, U.S. dollars are not going to be traded between states.
The interesting thing is on that, which I was going to say before, is that if a misinterpretation of what someone in chat was saying, but still, I want to make the point. If they start actually like killing politicians. If our opponents just think that they can get away with killing politicians, essentially what you've got there is a situation that naturally filters itself. The arena is no longer fit for politicians. Now you need generals. Now you need military leaders, strategists. You need people who can do violence effectively and organize people. You need militia leaders. You don't need politicians anymore at that point. It filters out that entire era. And as I mentioned just now, our opponent relies completely on utilizing the existing assumed legitimacy that they have captured. If it goes to a different phase, if too much changes, they lose everything.
Yeah.
I'm willing to turn my back on other Republican candidates. I'm not willing to take somebody's money with a whole bunch of strings attached. So that was one example. There's been probably others that I can't think of right now. But when President Trump calls Washington, D.C. the swamp, he truly means it. It is swampy, it's disgusting, and it's corrupt. And I want to, we just had something dropped in my office here, and we want to change that.
I've got a lot of people are asking, are you worried for your safety?
I have been worried about our safety, but this comes with the territory right now. We're in an era right now where the world is very dangerous. When we were on the campaign trail for the governor's office, I laughed because my team would say, "Are you kidding? You have another slashed tire?" We'd go in and we'd have a meeting of 400 or 500 people.
Laura Loomer wishes she had that many slashed tires.
Yeah. God, the turnaround Laura Loomer has had is insane to me. Going from Loomer tire to exposing people connections in DC is just funny to me.
I have heard her doing more stuff, and I still remember her as the tire woman. So it's gonna
get away from that.
Yeah, it'll take some time for her to regain that any sort of respect.
I am more than happy for the tire thing to be a footnote in her life forever. so long as she keeps doing the other shit too.
And maybe it needs her to try harder to regain everyone's trust or respect. Fine by me.
She still seems crazy. She still seems crazy to me though, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I saw an article
doing all this stuff that's just
I saw an article from I think a pundit, which was like, Laura Loomer terrifies Kari Lake and scares her away with tough election questions. And it's just a video of Laura Loomer taking the camera up to Nikki Haley and like starting to ask something you can barely hear, and Nikki Haley just kind of walks away. Maybe she didn't even notice Laura Loomer. It's like, yeah, okay, Laura, I'm sure you are doing good work, but not all of it is. It's same old tire slashed Loomer tricks, I guess.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I think Laura Loomer was removed from somebody's thing, like by police force. I can't remember what it was. It could have been Nikki Haley's event, but it could have been Ron DeSantis. I can't remember.
All Arizonans who were happy to see us and would join into us, and we would basically come back out, and we would get in the car and we'd start driving down the freeway, and our tire would be flat. Our tire would go flat immediately. We would get the warning. We had that happen so many times. So I've recently gotten emails telling me that they want to take me out, neutralize me. I've had threatening phone calls, but it comes with the territory. We're not living in normal times. We're living in dangerous times. And when people threaten you, they're trying to stop you. And why are they trying to stop you? Because you are effective? Because you are making a difference. And as I said in that video, and I hope that many of you had a chance to see it, they will have to kill me to stop me. I am a mother. And if you're a mom out there, raise your hand, let me know you're out there. If you're a father out there, we've all seen those videos where we see dads and moms over the past where you see them like lifting a car's rolled over a child, and literally you see like 2 dads and a mom or 3 dads lifting a car like they have superhuman strength. And that is that energy and that certain thing that we have inside of us when we become parents that we have to save and protect our children.
So here's an example. Somebody's Matt Adams says he's never seen an example of his hysterical strength. Yes, you have. Well, go watch a meth head or a crack addict charging police, and they've taken like 9 rounds to the chest and they're still coming.
That's happened. Yeah, people that can just take tasers without noticing as well.
Yeah, and this hysterical strength is it could be a thing It's just that most of the time the non normal functioning human is under some type of influence.
Sure, yeah. Now, I can believe it exists. I'm not sure it exists. I too haven't seen it in real life, but maybe you should hope that you never do, because if you are seeing it in real life, then something's gone very wrong.
And I have that inside of me right now, and I'm willing to do anything and everything to save this country. Because saving this country, I'm going to be honest, I'm being selfish. I want to save it for my children, but I also want to save it for yours and my future grandchildren.
This isn't a question, but this was interesting. It said,
say hello to Colton, everybody, by the way.
They said, this tells me if they're willing to bribe you out, they don't think they can cheat this next round.
I've said that before.
It may be that they just want to bolster their chances and use every method they can, but
it is actually easier to bribe somebody out than it is to cheat in elections.
Yeah, I expect so.
That's because it's like, if it only takes money, well, when you're up against an organization that has infinite money,
yeah,
that means nothing to them. So it is patently easier to bribe somebody. And if she's out of the running for 2 years, all of that, like, her public support evaporates because she's been gone too long.
Yeah. And if she ends up on the board of some major company, then she's going to lose a lot of trust because Marga has begun to identify that as a problem.
Here's what's worse.
Nikki Haley, was she... What does she do? What does she do? Was she on a board? Oh, no, she was on Boeing's board. Oh, no, she was.
What a great company.
Yeah.
Great company.
Oh, he's supposed to blow the bloody doors off. But yeah.
Yeah. So here's the funny part, right? So, well, not funny part. Here's the thing, right? Say that she does accept the bribe, right? And then she comes back after 2 years. And, oh, wow, look, on audio leaks of her accepting the bribe.
Of course.
What do you think that does?
Of course.
Oh, yeah, that blows up.
It would be easy, yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, there's no way she could take that bribe and still be in politics ever.
I wouldn't be surprised if actually having the audio recording is a requirement for her to get the money. So it's just eternal blackmail as soon as you got the money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to rely on keeping that down.
Well, no, she wouldn't. Well, that's the thing is that if she accepted the bribe, it's over. Like the financial transaction would exist.
Yes, I
agree.
The
pipeline would exist.
Well, theoretically, she could set something up with some trustworthy bureau to say, all right, we're gonna like catch them in the act. I'm going to take the money, but under your supervision, and I'm already immune from the. Theoretically, that could happen. Well, I don't know, but there are some state FBI seem more trustworthy than others.
Yeah, but again, that comes back to if you're an outsider, and the entire government is basically co-opted by commies.
Yeah.
Like, who do you trust to actually make that work?
No, I agree. But I think in principle, they would want more than just the law to back them up on that. They would want something that could destroy their reputation, just like what Epstein Island was for.
The Pennsylvania Republicans have just filed a lawsuit alleging Biden and Governor Josh Shapiro has violated the U.S. Constitution for passing legislation that loosens voting restrictions. Biden signed an executive order in 2021, which is not legally authorized by the congressionally enacted law. So they're trying to, the Republicans in the Pennsylvania are looking for any cheating that is being attempted here.
All right, good. Yeah, keep the pressure on. Why not?
The big thing is that the fact that they're still looking for any shit that the Democrats are doing is a good sign.
Unfortunately, Biden is nowhere near as essential to their plans as Trump is to ours. So just doing to Biden what they're doing to Trump is nowhere near enough. But it's a good start.
Yeah. But I mean, they're going after the Pennsylvania laws that are like would subvert the election.
Yeah. Now's the time.
So, yep. Now's the time because waiting was what got Pennsylvania the last time.
To be fair, last time there was state senators who just dropped completely unsupportable legislation to allow the mail-in voting like a couple of weeks or months before the election. That's kind of hard to combat, but perhaps they have a way now.
Unconstitutionally.
unconstitutionally, and a lot of that was rescinded, but not before the election.
Correct. And then the was the Pennsylvania Supreme Court was like, you know what, it is unconstitutional, but we're going to allow it.
Mm-hmm. The people that the people that allowed that should be in prison, to be honest.
Yeah, but they're all elected Democrats too.
Yeah, like that's something to write an amendment about. Like any law that affects elections cannot come into effect until the next election. Like obviously that wouldn't be perfect, but something like that.
Yeah, I would say the next for like 2 elections or some shit.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they expended a lot of ammunition in 2020. We discovered a lot of the ways that they cheated in 2020. They did a lot in 2022. And why do you think they're trying to stop President Trump? Why are they trying to indict him in 4 different, municipalities? They're trying to indict him. They're trying to stop me. They're trying to sue me. They're trying to actually stop me with a defamation case, which is really a censorship case, because they can't stop us at the ballot box. They tried to convince everybody that Joe Biden won 81 million votes. Please don't insult our intelligence. What are they going to do this time? When President Trump wins by that many votes, are they going to try to convince us that this geriatric patient who's leading us into war, who's caused an invasion at our border, are they going to try to tell us he won 100 million votes?
I think, is Biden now the least popular president in U.S. history?
Very close, if not already. The reason being is because I would have to look. I haven't checked in a while.
Yeah, I did hear that the number is very low.
Yeah, there's like Hoover and Taft and shit like that.
But what Kari Lake said just there about the rigging, I would really like to know what Trump's plan is. But I would rather he not tell me, because then he'd have to tell everyone and then he'll reveal the plan. So, like, there's two things that could be true. Option 1, Trump doesn't really have a plan for 2024 to defeat the election rigging. Option 2, he does have a plan and isn't telling us. Now, I hope it's option 2. I really do hope it's option 2.
Do you remember he released a grievance listing out all of the ways that each individual state had cheated?
Yes, I think it was like a 45-minute video. It was a great summary of the situation.
Yeah, and so I think Trump is relying on the fervor of all the people in the states themselves to push it. I don't think Trump is a hyper intelligent person that has a plan for most of this shit. I think he understands that there's a will of the people, and then there's a man of the moment thing going on.
Yeah.
And he's been pushed into this because if he didn't run, he'd be in prison. So he doesn't really, like, all things are leading towards him running to the presidency. So he's going with it, and he's trying to make the most of it and trying to succeed where he can. But I think everybody else are the ones actively, running these missions to stop the cheating.
Well, I hope that he has some idea, or at least that some people around him have some suggestions and strategies that they're implementing, because a lot could probably be done. But yes, a lot of it is good. Like, ultimately, it will depend on the fervor of good people, the vigilance of people in the locations.
The main thing is that look, what is all of his time preoccupied with?
Well, a lot of it's the court hearings that he has to go to attend. Yeah,
correct.
Also,
and
then
the
rallies.
rest of it is what?
The rallies.
The rest of it is the rallies. Yeah. So you have almost all of his time being taken up by these two things, to where he's running multiple long days in a row.
Yeah.
I don't think he has enough time to personally strategize every conceivable thing. I think he's relying on people who are intelligent to get the job done. And Vivek, he might even rely on Vivek to coordinate. Now that he's in the boat. So
no, I'm not proposing that Trump has meticulously planned it. Just that he, as a force, not necessarily as an individual, has plans and ideas and strategies to try to prevent election rigging, even if it is just coordinating to get people in local areas to band together. but just like looking at the relevant laws to see what they're allowed to do and making sure everyone's informed of what they're allowed to do, making sure that where they can carry guns, they're allowed to, or, whatever it ends up being, coordination could be all it takes, really. But yeah. That's what I'm hoping that there's some work been done into that from his people.
Now, there's actually multiple things that people aren't really cognizant of, but like a lot of people only like for here, we've only talked about the Republican side. We haven't really like got into the whole massive like infighting and collapse of support on the Democrat side in terms of the Israeli versus Muslim issue, where Muslims are. Where 70,000 Muslims in Michigan are like, we're not voting for Biden. We don't care if we're going to torch this election.
Yeah.
And that's even more of a hurdle they're just not going to get over.
Yeah. The Israel thing cuts perpendicular to the normal political cut. So it's confused everything. I haven't seen a lot of split on the right over that, but quite a lot on the left.
Correct. Yeah, and so and then you have also the split between the illegal immigration and the African American communities who have welfare. So you have multiple fracturing issues that are not being resolved at all.
Yeah,
and the Middle East is not coming down. The regional conflicts are getting bigger, and it doesn't look like it's going to be resolved before November. So. Like there are things that are crippling the support on the Democrat side.
Yeah.
And the support of Republicans by Hispanic and African American has only increased since 2020.
Yeah. I heard someone suggest something interesting as well. What if RFK proposed that he's pro-Palestine? Just draw over loads of people from Democrats to vote for him instead.
It's possible. But he's already supported unwavering support for Israel to defend itself.
Right. Okay.
So no one's going to go for it.
But still, interesting idea.
RFK has publicly declared unconditional support for Texas to defend its borders.
Has he? I didn't know that. That's based. Yeah, he seems like pretty good. Let's have a look. I want to find out.
Here's the thing, right? Yeah. I think he did it today.
Yes, he has done that. Good for him. There you go. Yep. I wasn't sure about him, but I'm trusting him a lot more now.
Yep. And so he may pull the moderate Democrat vote to him.
Yeah. That's fine by me. Everyone on the right, we voted for Trump.
Yeah. All the ones on the right are going to be voting for Trump. Even the ones that are sympathetic to Trump might vote. But the never Trumpers who are not comfortable, who won't vote for Trump, but want a sane choice, might vote for RFK.
Yeah.
As a protest. Because they'll see it as a less evil choice. Less something that they would get burned on the pyre for. I would say.
Hopefully, RFK doesn't get the same treatment as his other family.
Not possible. Oh yeah. That's possible. But the Democratic Party can't burn RFK though. So they can't
not with internal methods.
No. They he passes all the check marks for being a Democrat, a blue dog, but still Democrat. So it's really hard to call him out for him like a Republican or something. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of not a lot, but I've seen say a handful of prominent American politicians who are on the left who I've thought. That could be the new face of the Democrats after all this is over. That would be fine. RFK is one of them. Tulsi Gabbard's another one. There's a few others too, who I can't remember.
I don't even. So here's my issue with this, right? I don't even know if the Democratic Party, if the Republicans win, and you start seeing the massive changes that you would expect in the federal government from the Title F and Schedule F and all this other shit going on, and the gutting of all the corrupt institutions. I don't know if the Democratic Party is going to be able to survive.
I'm not sure either.
Without being able to cheat or bribe or being corrupt.
Oh yeah, no. They have specialized themselves completely towards cheating. They will have to totally reform. They may be unelectable for a decade. Even if they do start reforming, it could be 2 decades.
Yeah, and then that's the big thing is like all of their structures that they've relied on to win are going to be very, very crippled.
Yeah, they have no I don't think they have any strategy to pivot back to legitimacy at all.
Yeah, if they did, they wouldn't have tried to do this whole court thing with Trump to get him off the ballot.
Yeah,
they understand they don't really. This is their last gambit on terms of trying to hold on to power.
I think so. All right, good on RFK though. That is good to see. Let's continue with the Kari Lake story.
We're not going to fall for it. And so I do believe that they are having a hard time coming up with new ways. That's why Jeff DeWitt showed up at my door and said, we want you to sit out. Please sit out. Just sit out for 2 years. We don't want you on the ballot because they can't stop this movement of us, we the people. And frankly, I don't care what party you're in, Democrat Party, Republican, Independent Party, Pool Party, Pizza Party, Brunch Party. I don't care what party you're in. It is about our country. It is about saving our country and protecting our children. And they can't stop us, and they know it. And so that's why they're trying to bribe me out of politics, sue Donald Trump, keep us so busy in court that we can't campaign. But I don't think people are going to fall for it.
People are putting money into the Rumble chat. There's a lot of money coming in. Someone said, what can we do to help? Everyone else should encouraging everyone else to put money in. I didn't know this was
money.
That's
okay.
Cool.
That's great.
You
can actually, I just see that my team put KariLake.com. That's where you can find out more about our campaign. You know, all of you who followed me during the governor's race, you know that we had great policy. The media tried to call us extremists and far right extremists. That was my favorite thing. And I said, well, so far I have been right. And I am extremely worried about the future of our state and our country. And I know many, many of you are as well. And that's why we're in this. That's why President Trump has great America First policies. They could be called common sense policies, but it's about time we put our country first. When are we going to start putting American families, individuals, and our safety, our security, our national security, our energy policy, and our children first? And that's what we're going to do when we get to Washington, D.C. So you can go to KariLake.com. You can support me there. I'm up against a behemoth, which is the Soros machine and the Democrat machine. And they somehow always seem to outraise us. I mean, who
Artemis, I'm sure that you remember, as I do, when mentioning Soros in the context of politics was like an instant red flag. You're not being listened to anymore. You're a conspiracy theorist. And now we've got prominent, popular politicians, a couple that are about to end up in the White House, who are well aware of it. It's a matter of course now. They're very well aware. And Florida's just rid its state of Soros DAs, at least they claim to have done. Things change.
Was it the Babylon Bee article? It's like people are running out of conspiracy theories to believe in because they've all turned out to be true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Poor Babylon Bee, struggling to come up with things that didn't just happen in real life. Wow, okay, it's an accusation, but it's probably true. Let's have a look quickly at this. As I say, I'm going to go soon, but I'm just going to summarize. Thanks to Artemis for linking this. Breaking, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has accused the Biden admin of partnering with the cartels in a pay-per-person scheme to get people across the southern border and into the U.S. I mean, that's worse than I had thought before. Like, I had been under the assumption that while there may have been some collusion with the cartels, organizationally, timing-wise, that mostly it was just opportunity on their half, that it was just symbiosis rather than direct communication, but there's no reason to assume it wasn't direct either, and even paid for. That Biden, I mean, this, if I was American, I would be even more infuriated, but even as not an American, it's infuriating. Biden has been using your money to pay the cartels to flood your country with foreign invaders. That's way beyond treason, if the accusation is true, which it probably is.
Yeah. At this point, it's the things that they already knew.
But yeah, this and the other story that you linked about Republicans suddenly standing up and attacking Biden on all fronts. Like, we might actually be hitting the lightning strike moment here. It's just everything happening at once.
Money comes from, we can imagine all day, but it's probably from sketchy sources, just like Hunter Biden selling his, as I said, finger paints for $500,000. So we need to get moms and dads and individuals out there, even in this difficult economy, a $5 donation, a $1 donation, $1,000 donation, whatever you can afford is appreciated, because we have to win this Senate seat. Why am I in this? Because we have.
I'm going to skip to the audio, the thing about the bribe audio, because while I do want to support her, that's what we're here for.
And
so this is about CPAC, which is where she initially talked about this.
He said, as you heard in the audio, don't tell anybody this happened. Don't talk about this. If you say no, don't mention it, which is really suspicious. But I thought about it on the flight to DC, and I thought, you know what? I have to mention this. So I changed my entire speech when I got to CPAC, and I mentioned it. I did a whole speech on this. I did a whole speech about how corrupt the government is, how I had just in the last 24 hours been bribed, almost as if it was a movie. It didn't even seem real. And I did the whole speech. And since then, in several important speeches I've delivered and even talks with just small groups, I have mentioned that I was bribed by an individual to stay out of politics. They can't have us in politics. They can't have we the people in politics because we're too dangerous to the corrupt system. So I've been talking about this for 11 months. Sadly, the mainstream media hasn't bothered to ask me any questions about it. Can you imagine that? If somebody on the liberal side had been talking about being, being blackmailed, they would have been asking questions, but they didn't ask a single question about it. So
the media wouldn't need to ask questions if it was on the left because they already know. Maybe they did here as well. Actually, I don't know how well done. I don't know how deeply connected the press and the politicians are, or whether it's more of a standalone complex thing.
Oh, well, hold on. You don't remember the Hillary Clinton campaign where they just had the press flying on her plane?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. No, that could just be like privileged access to do press stuff. I mean, I don't know how deep they are, how deeply aware they are of corruption. Probably a bit of a risk to let them be aware of it.
Remember the entire Trump presidency of the leaking?
Yeah.
So
go on.
No, go ahead. You got the article up.
Whistleblower tells Congress that government is delivering migrant children to human traffickers. Tara Lee Rodas warned the US is the middleman in a trafficking operation. Now, I'm sure this is a huge story. I'm not going to go into the full detail because it is. We do need to end here, Chad. But this is what Artemis was just talking about. Is there a number?
Yeah, that was.
Let's see one. According to Customs and Border Protection statistics, the number of unaccompanied alien children at UACs who arrive at the border has swelled from 33,000 in 2020 to more than 146,000 in 2021 and 152,000 in 2022. So far in 2023, there have been more than 70,000. So this is early or partway into 2023, this article.
Yeah.
These children have ended up with child traffickers.
Yeah, so, New York Times has also reported on this several times, and they are in agreement. But it looks like they just hand them off to just non-relatives and human traffickers, and they end up as slaves or factory workers.
It's disgusting.
As children.
I can imagine the like stereotypical best case scenario illegal immigrant, like a family and their children want a better life. Which I'm sure is not the majority these days, but best case scenario, they take their children to America, like they heard of a bunch of other people doing. They hold their kids close, but they're separated at the border, and the government steal their children, and the children end up in totally unknown parts of the world, while the parents are forced or coerced. What would it be? Blackmailed essentially into either you work for these shitty low wages, or we send you back home.
Yeah,
it's worse than what they had in Mexico. It's worse than what they had in Mexico.
And then, if that's the case, they should have just stayed in Mexico.
Yeah,
we should actually be more humane and make sure they stay in Mexico so they never have to experience that.
Yes, the wall is one of the most humane policies towards Mexico implemented in the last few decades, and obviously the wall is a start. But I suspect that the Mexican people are, they're not brilliantly informed, but they're not quite stupid enough to keep going in if they have any inkling that that's what's happening. So probably the majority of those actually coming in now, or not maybe the majority, but a really large portion, are not families, are not kids, not, wives and children, anything like that. It's people who have other intentions, shall we say.
Yep. The video came out, or rather, I should say the audio came out and the name came out, and now they're all of a sudden interested in it.
All right, this is Jordan Conradson texted me.
Yeah, I think the press would prefer not to have to report on lots of stories that come out, more and more every year, but they have to because they have to maintain monopolistic control. If they chose not to report on something and people heard about it, which with social media they do, especially since they don't quite control it as much with Twitter under Elon Musk, they have to cover it so that they bring enough people to their site. Otherwise, people will find their way to other sites which do not control the narrative in the same way, aren't part of their cartel. So they have to cover some things like this. They have to. The story was just big enough that they had to cover it. Again, assumed legitimacy, just relying on coasting on the legitimacy of institutions that used to be better.
Don't you think it's hilarious that the lefty journalists like Lori Roberts are attacking you over this rather than admitting he was wrong? Why do they attack you? What's your response?
Oh boy, I haven't read her response. I'm shocked. Okay, let me tell you who Lori Roberts is. She's a cat lady who lives in Arizona, who is she writes op-eds for the Arizona Repugnant, as everybody calls it. I think their subscription.
True Trump energy with that. She's a cat lady. She writes for the Repugnant. I love it.
Base is about like 5,000 people in a state of 7 million. And this is the interesting thing. And this is how corrupt this paper or this journalistic entity, propaganda entity is. She is sisters with, she's a sister to one of the members of our Arizona Supreme Court. She's admitted that she speaks to her sister and talks every single day to her Supreme Court justice sister. And she writes between 2 and 7 or 8 hit pieces on me a week. So, the conversations are probably stemming from what she talks to her sister about. And it's really unethical. The corruption is so deep. It goes from as you saw, from the political parties, from the journalists, propagandists, to the courts. She writes 7 or 8 hit pieces on me a week, talks to her Arizona Supreme Court justice sister every single day. I'm sure I've come up in the conversation. And her sister is actively hearing cases that I'm involved in, that not just me, that you in Arizona are involved in, that deal with our elections. So it's completely unethical. She's an angry woman. I'd love to sit down and talk to her, but I don't think she has the courage to do that.
I've got.
And how can you blame me? My question for her is, how can you blame me? He showed up at my home and he threw this at me. How do you blame me for that?
What do you think of Jeff DeWitt's resignation letter?
What do I think?
Did you read it, Artemis? The resignation letter?
Yeah, he said that she manipulated some of the recording. Dude, or whatever.
That letter was maybe the cringiest thing I've ever read.
Yep. It's all cope.
I'm still shocked by just how badly conceived it was. Like every line, I could scarcely imagine a way to write it worse.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that was almost more entertaining than the original audio was. It was so bad. There was one thing in his letter that could have been something, but it was buried in so much cope and seething that it was just lost. But the one thing I thought could be something is that if he was saying, like, strategically, I think it's better politically for us to come back to this in 2 years. And hey, if we do that, I probably can get you a position on a board or something so you don't run out of money in the meantime. Like, that's stupid. That's wrong. That's wrong. But you could argue that isn't necessarily bribery. Of course, it probably would be considered it. But you could imagine a situation where someone would suggest that without meaning it as bribery. Now, I don't believe for a second that's what he was doing, and there's plenty of little bits in the recording that strongly imply that's not what he was doing. But that's the claim he should have run on. But he buried it in so much cope and seething in that letter that no one's going to see that part, even if it is true, which I don't think it is. But yeah, good riddance.
Yep.
Think of Jeff DeWitt's resignation letter. Well, it came very late. I didn't see an apology to the people of Arizona.
No, he wasn't apologizing.
The behavior you heard on that audio is normal communication amongst friends. It's disgusting. And I think he did a horrible job, and he should have just apologized, resigned, and apologized, and said he's going to work to do better.
What can we?
I don't think he should get a chance to work to do better. I think he should be put in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
What can we do to keep this sort of? What can we do to keep this sort of thing out of politics?
What can we do to keep, I don't know if you can hear Colton, what can we do to keep this sort of thing out of politics? We can start to elect America First candidates. I really believe that the America First movement is about rooting out corruption. It's about rooting out corruption. And we see that with President Trump. But here's the deal. The America First candidates are the ones who are strong enough to withstand all of the hatred. You know, he mentioned that cat lady who writes for the Arizona Republic. I'm willing to take 7 hit pieces from her every week. I'm willing to take hundreds of hit pieces, even though I've lived a great life and I've been kind to everybody and I treat everybody with fairness and dignity. I'm willing to take those because you know what happens? On your deathbed someday, it doesn't matter what they wrote about you. You're going to have your loved ones looking into your eyes. And I hope to God that we're not living in a communist America at that time. But if we are, they're going to look into your eyes and they're going to say, what did you do to try to save America? Did you do anything to prevent this? Well, I'm hoping that my kids look into my eyes and say, Mom, thank you so much for doing everything you could to save America, to protect our God-given rights and our freedoms. And I don't want to have that other option, which is that we've lost America. So we've got 10 months to get together, work hard, and save America. And I want to reach out to people who maybe aren't somebody who voted Republicans. Maybe you voted Democrat or Independent before, and you're thinking, wow, I don't like the direction this is going. Maybe you heard that audio recording and said, that's disgusting. I don't like that at all. I want you to just look deep in your heart and say, is your life better than it was 4 years ago? Is your children's future more secure than it was 4 years ago? And get behind this great America First movement. We have an opportunity to turn this whole nightmare around. We know that the Democrats are no longer Democrats. They are radicals, and their policies are destructive. They're dead-end policies, and in some ways, they're deadly policies, especially when you look at what's happening on the border. And we have a chance to turn this around with great common sense policies, and that's what I want to make sure we get into place here in Arizona. And they call it women's intuition, Colton. It's that little kind of feeling you get in your gut. And I got that feeling a few days ago when I said, I want to look back at that recording. What was in that recording? I never ever looked at it. It's been 11 months and I'd never watched it back. And a few days ago, out of the blue, I just started watching it. And I was so horrified by what I heard. It was so much worse than what I remembered it being when I was in the middle of that conversation with Jeff DeWitt. That recording, when I heard it, as I said, my daughter was listening in. She was gasping. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the worst. This is really one of the worst things I've ever heard. It's so corrupt.
Yes. So the reason she gave for not releasing it straight away is believable. I could like, psychologically, it makes sense that she would, at the time, realize this is bad, I should mention it, and then sort of not really think about it. And then a few months, like 9 months later or whatever, just happens to listen to it again. And again, plausible. And then hearing it back, not just from memory, but hearing back what actually happened, realizing this is so bad, I have to release this audio. That's plausible, but it's still not good that she didn't just release it straight away, that she didn't release it. You know, she realized it was bad enough to talk about it in a speech, so why didn't she release it then? Not sure. And again, I don't really think she gives a good reason, a good explanation in this video. Still, that is a minor downside to the extremely courageous and base thing that she did here, releasing this audio. So I'm not going to hold it against her really. Hopefully she releases anything else that she has as well, especially on DeWitt. DeWitt claims that Lake has more and threatened him with it. Now, I don't think we've heard any confirmation that she actually does, but if she does, even though he's resigned, she should release it anyway.
I'm getting some questions about being employed with Jeff DeWitt. Can you talk about that?
Isn't that funny? And the fake news media was like, "Oh, were you employed?" I was an employee of Superfeed, and I've always mentioned that. That's part of my financial disclosures that you have to put out when you run for governor and senate. He was not my boss. He was an employee, a coworker, just like me. And
I have no idea what this organization is. It sounds like it's probably above board. But yeah, that was one thing I was unsure about in DeWitt's letter, about her being an employee and him going there to discuss business. That didn't seem right. It certainly didn't sound like what he was talking about. So here she is responding to that.
I've actually, that's been out. That's not a news story at all. So it's funny that he's trying to act like he owned the company, because that's not the truth.
Do you think that Cinema will run? That's a fun one.
Ooh, do I think Cinema will run? That's a good question. What do you guys think out there? She's got to get about 60,000 signatures to get on the ballot. And in order to do that, she has to have those by the first part of April. So time is kind of ticking right now. She's got to be able to have the time to do that. I don't know if she will. I mean, I think with each passing day, I think it's less likely, but I'm going to be really honest.
I don't know much about Cinema, but I assume that she would be Kari Lake's opponent, Democrat opponent for the Senate run. So we may hear more from her.
I am out. I'm running. I'm in this, not because I love politics. As you know, and as you now know, it's really disgusting. It's really disgusting. But I'm in it because I want to save our country. And so whether she runs or she doesn't run, if it's just a two-way race or a three-way race, I'm ready. I don't care who they throw at me. They can throw every single person they want at me. I believe that the people of Arizona trust me. They know that I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. I'm going to tip over the apple cart. We're going to set it on fire, and we're going to actually bring out a new non-corrupt apple cart. And we're going to actually start bringing policies that help the American family, the American border, American national security, American energy independence, American children, and actually strengthen our country. And I believe with everything I've got, all my heart, that we are going to have our greatest days ahead. President Trump's going to work his tail off, and so am I, to make this country better. And we're going to make America great again, as he says. Are we good? Okay, guys. I'm so glad that you joined me. The
rest of the video, I think, is just sort of long goodbye.
Save our country. I'm going to do.
So yeah, I've linked you the video. You're welcome to watch that yourself. However, it is now time for me to head off. I have lots to do tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me, Artemis. It's good to see you again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hopefully I can have you on more streams in the future. You're always welcome. And
we'll see.
Yep. As for the rest of you, thanks for joining and thank you for your generosity. I'll see you soon.